When you're dating a man and things are progressing along, what are the elements? What are the things that really need to be in place for him to want to commit to that relationship, for him to choose you as a partner in his life? And what are the things that you want to have in place for you to choose him as a partner in life? What I've found over the many, many years of coaching women in relationships is that when it comes to men, there are 5 attributes, really 5 qualities or experiences that they want to be having, that when these 5 are in place, it's a real easy yes for them to say, hey, I'm committed to this. I want to dedicate my life to this particular relationship. And so we're going to unpack all 5 of these, and I've coined these with C words. So these are the 5 C's of what helps a man commit in a relationship. And the first one is chemistry. Common thinking would say, well, it's got to be chemistry with you and him. And of course it does. That's just level 1 chemistry though. It's chemistry with you and him, that every man wants to feel that aliveness with the woman that he's choosing. Every man wants to feel like, wow, that attraction and that spark and that desire and that feeling like, oh my gosh, I can't get enough of her. I want to drink her in. I want to breathe her in. This feeling of like, ooh, desire and that chemistry. But know this, that chemistry doesn't have staying power, because that's just the infatuation stage of the relationship. But there is a spiritual chemistry that happens when you're with someone who can help you experience more aliveness, that can help you experience more of what life has to offer. When you're with a life partner, not just a sexual partner, right? Anyone you can have that physical kind of animalistic chemistry for, where you're so turned on. I've had lots of friends where they had to have sex 3 or 4 times a day because they were so turned on by each other. And then later, they didn't want to touch each other because they didn't have that deeper level of chemistry, that spiritual chemistry. And so the chemistry that I'm talking about that you can actually help cultivate, because that first level chemistry is very much biological. It's going to be there or it's not. But the spiritual chemistry, the aliveness chemistry that you can create, is how much are you in tune with your joy of life, with the moments that are happening? Because now more than ever, you and I are living in such a fast-paced world, the hustle and bustle and the numbness of life, because you and I are tuned into so much of life through our screens, is swiping and scrolling and what's happening on that screen and just getting disconnected to what's going on around us, so that when you can actually help your man experience life, not through the screen, but through his own eyes, through his own experience, and help him feel more alive by engaging in that present moment, that unlocks an experience of life unto himself that feels richer, that feels deeper, that he wants more and more of. So the first C is chemistry. Do you have the standard biological chemistry together? You want that. But the second is, are you creating that aliveness, that chemistry with life, that spiritual chemistry with each other on an ongoing basis? Let me share with you a fun little game that you can play with him, or an activity that you can do with him that ignites this level of really soaking in the aliveness that's available. And I call this memorize the moment. Memorize the moment. Not something you probably do on a first or a second date, but as things progress and you're wanting to both have that physical chemistry, but also that more deeper spiritual chemistry, is where you're walking and there's a sunset and you guys are looking at the sunset together, or you're on a date together. I actually love these moments when there's a lot of hustle and bustle around. And memorize the moment is where you come together and you just hug, and you hold that hug for 30 seconds. And then you would be prompting him. You say, hey, let's just memorize this moment. Just hug me, hold me, hug me, hold me. And he holds you. And you say, let's just listen for a moment together and just soak in the sounds. And you listen. And you say, with your eyes closed, just notice the sounds. What do you hear? Now notice your skin. What do you feel? You feel me in your arms. You feel the air on your skin. Just notice what's going on around us. Notice what you're feeling in your heart right now. Our hearts connected to one another. Notice the smell. I'm smelling your cologne. Maybe you're smelling my perfume. You're telling him and you're prompting him, and you're going through the 5 senses: the sight, hearing, smelling, touch. Give him a taste. Memorize this kiss. What does this taste like? And you memorize that moment. It literally takes a minute, 2 minutes max. And it is like this beautiful moment that you expand to, that you soak in, and that gets anchored between the two of you? Well, number one is chemistry. Number two is connection. A man's going to commit to a woman when he feels deeply connected to her, when he has shared values with her, when he feels like his heart is open to her. And one of the best ways to create that connection with your man is to help him feel fully accepted for who he is, because every man, we want to be the hero. We want to be tough. We want to be provider. We want to be seen as like James Bond or Jason Bourne, or we want to be like the badass, like your man wants to be that hero for you. And at the same time, there are things that he feels guilty about, or feels that he feels regret for, or things that he feels shame around, his perceived weaknesses or flaws. And so what is it that's going to create that deep connection is when a man feels like you know all of him, you accept all of him, you love all of him, even the parts that he's not 100% proud of, when he can actually feel free to talk about these things with you without being judged or criticized or condemned. And so the way to actually create that is by starting with yourself, is by loving the parts of you that you might feel shame around, or loving the parts of you and accepting the parts of you that you're not proud of or that you want to change and you try to push down. When you create this space of love and acceptance in yourself, that naturally creates an energy of openness in you and readiness, willingness to love and accept those things in other people. See, we often judge and criticize that in others that we criticize and judge harshly in ourselves. So when you can heal that in yourself, it makes you available to then offer that same healing, that same acceptance, that same love for somebody else. So it's very, very powerful to begin with ourselves. And so I want to offer you a tool. It's a free tool. I call this the Self-Love Activation Toolkit. And I'll put a link in the description for you. You can click it, download that toolkit. It's both a journal and a meditation that you can listen to that helps you heal and love and accept all the parts of ourselves that we tend to judge or criticize. It is beautiful. So I hope you grab that tool. I hope you listen to it and use it, because it's really going to make a difference. And when you do, you're going to then open up your heart in a whole new way that allows him to feel loved and accepted, and his feeling of connection with you will go to a whole new level. The third C is that he feels capable. And this is essential. This is bedrock for any masculine man. He wants to feel like he can be the man you want in the relationship. That whatever's most important to you as far as who a man needs to be for you, your partner in life, what does that person need to be, do, experience, give, contribute, that he can measure up to that. And so if you've heard me say this before, one of a man's greatest fears is inadequacy, where he feels like he can't be the man that you want, whether it's providing not just financially, but providing for you emotionally, being the man that you want around the house, being able to contribute the amount of time that you want. I went through this phase with my wife that was really funny, because growing up, my dad would fix a lot of things around the house. My dad would work on the cars. My dad would fix the house if it broke down, but I never really learned any of those skills. And so my approach generally when things are broken is, let's pay someone to fix it. Where my wife grew up in a home where they fixed everything. And so that was something that we had to reconcile, not just so much on the strategy level, but on my own ego level, like feeling like maybe I'm not measuring up as a man because she wants me to fix it, or she's going to fix it. And here's the funny part. My own story was that I thought she wanted me to fix it, where she really didn't care. She just wanted it fixed, and she was willing to fix it. I'll never forget, our washer broke down. And I'm like, well, let's pay someone. Let's either buy a new washer or let's pay someone to fix it. And she's like, no, I got this. She's 8.5 months pregnant. And she's sitting on the floor by the washer with a big old pregnant belly with YouTube open saying, how do you fix a washer? And she's looking at YouTube, and she's got the screwdriver and the drill out and the towels out. And she's doing this. She's pulling out nasty water and gunk and whatnot. And I'm working and coming out to like grab food, and I'm watching her doing this. And there's a part of me thinking, like, should I be the one doing, like, I'm the guy, I should be fixing this, and the old paradigm roles, stereotypical roles. And what I loved is never once did my wife make me feel guilty, rub it in my face, say, oh, you didn't fix this and I did, and blah, 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 because that would have totally created tension and tore us apart. But instead she was like, babe, here's what she did. She said, I love that you're man enough to support me in fixing this. That is a paradigm shift. That is completely different. She actually helped me feel enough in that moment because the role that I was playing wasn't trying to not let her fix it by hiring someone, but supporting her desire to fix it. That is amazing. So how is your man feeling? Your man needs to feel capable, that he's measuring up, living up to whatever your expectation is in this relationship. If he doesn't meet that, more often than not, he's not going to want to be in that relationship. The men who commit, the men who want to stay in relationships are meeting that mark the majority of the time. And who's setting that mark? You are. You're the one who's deciding whether or not he's measuring up or not. So the man who's committing is the man who feels capable. The fourth attribute is celebration. Celebration. You see, we all are different versions of ourselves around different people. Like there's probably a friend that you have that when you're with that friend, like you are so funny. You're just hilarious, or you're so cool because they just see you as cool or they see you as funny. So when you are talking and you make a joke, like you're way more willing to banter, you're way more willing to say a joke or be funny because you know they're going to laugh and they just think you are awesome. And your favorite is like you love this friend, and more than that, you love how you feel about yourself when you're around this particular friend. That's celebration, right? Does your man feel like the best version of himself in the relationship with you? You can absolutely support that experience. Do you feel like the best version of yourself when you're around him? The people who want to be together long term are the people who are propping each other up. So is there a habit of celebrating each other, of acknowledging each other, of propping each other up, of praising one another, of the great things that you're doing? Or is the general tone just to kind of be neutral unless someone really screws it up, F's it up, and they're like, hey, and then you point that out and you drag them down? One of the things I love, and you can adopt this, we actually have this as a culture in our company, in our institute. My wife's mom does this better than anyone that I know, where she props people up. I remember on one of the first dates where I actually got to go over to my wife's house. My wife is traditional. Her parents are Mexican, from Mexico. She's first generation. So they're having this kind of get together. I come over to the house. Her dad didn't really like me, didn't know me very much back then. He comes into the house from work and he's all grimy and dirty. And he looks at me and kind of scowls at me. And then he walks past me, goes in the bathroom, takes a shower, gets all dressed, puts his cologne on, walks out, and he's looking good. He's put on some nice clothes. And he walks into the living room, and his wife, they've been married, 40 years. His wife goes, para Miguel, une. And what she was saying is, for Miguel, give him an A, give him an A. And the whole room goes, hey! And he's a very kind of tough dude, and he kind of cracks this little smile and goes over and gives her a kiss and sits next to her. And what she was saying is, look how handsome he is. Look how clean he is. Listen, and he came home from a hard day of work. Hey, and he got a cheering celebration in that house. So we've adopted that. Like, we're having breakfast and mommy will make a good breakfast. And I'll say, for the kids, I'll say, hey kids, for mommy, une. And the kids go, hey! Or like, she'll do the girl's hair. And or even I will do the girl's hair, like braid it, and she'll say, for daddy, doing the braids, une, and the kids go, hey. So we find ways to celebrate one another. And I encourage you to build something like this in. Either take une and adopt it and use it. It's a gift from us to you. Or find your own way to celebrate and acknowledge each other. Because when your man feels like a rock star in that relationship, that's the relationship he wants to commit to. And the last C is clarity. Now, it's his clarity to his readiness to commit. Now, you don't have control over whether or not he is ready to commit. He's going to be at a particular phase in his life. He's either going to be ready or he's not going to be ready, or he's figuring it out. But that clarity you can help him with, because what is it that creates clarity? See, a lot of guys will say, I just need more time to figure it out. Those guys are confused. They don't need more time. What they need is more depth. They don't need more duration. They need more depth. How many people do you know who've stuck with a guy who's like, I just need more time. I just need to figure this out. And years went by. And then eventually at the end, he said, no, I don't really want this. I don't want to be committed, or I don't want to be married, or I don't want kids, whatever it is. But ultimately what happened, it wasn't about time. There was something that happened. There was like the pressure of the relationship caused him to go deep enough that he found his truth. He found what was true for him. Now, I'm saying this with a caveat, right? You're not going to know on date one. There's a certain amount of time required to really get to know one another. But if it's been past a year, if it's been 2 years, for certain, you don't need more time. You just need more depth. So one of the things that you can do is let him know that, look, your train is moving. A lot of guys, if your train, imagine the relationship is at a train station and the door is open and it's just parked. And you're like, hey, do you want to get on? This is Commitmentville. We're actually going to go create a beautiful relationship together. The door is open. I'm waiting for you. I'm waiting for you. And he knows that that train isn't going to leave anytime soon. And he's got options. He's going to say, yeah, I really do want to get on that train. But first, let me go check out this shop real quick. I just want to go shopping real quick. First, I'm hungry. Let me go get some food. I'll get a sandwich here. There's a great sandwich shop. I don't leave yet. I'm going to just get some food and then we will go. It's just delay. There's no urgency. But when you can say, hey, look, these doors are closing, right? And it says all aboard because this thing's out of here. When you can actually give him the urgency, it will cause him to say, okay, let me do some real reflection. Let me go deep on this and decide what I want. Because guess what? The man who wants to be with you is going to be clear about that. It might take him going deep to get clear, but he will get clear and he can get clear. So step 5 is clarity. And the way that you help him with clarity is by creating urgency. So when you help those 5 elements where you have the chemistry and you have the connection and the capability and the celebration and the clarity, when those things are in place, that's the man who's going to want to commit. That's the man who is your partner. He wants to be with you and create something beautiful with you. So my question for you is, what is it that helps you commit to a relationship and go from, I'm not sure I'm in, to I'm fully in? What needs to be in place? Go ahead and post that in the comment section below. I appreciate you. Thanks for watching. I'll see you soon.